Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we explore different perspectives on success. Join us as we invite successful individuals from a variety of fields to share their stories and insights. Tune in to hear thought-provoking discussions and learn new ways of thinking about success.
I'm Austin. This is Dane. And we're going to go over how we met, what the purpose of why we're both excited, right?
Yeah.
To get
I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited. But we're going to go over why we're so excited and kind of what we have planned, and then what we were both doing professionally and how we have kind of intertwined with each other so quickly. How many days has it been?
Like what, a week?
About a week.
Yeah.
And I think we've only met. This is our third time. Yeah. This is our third time meeting. So it happened organically, but and we're just going to share kind of how that happened.
I think it's the world happens in a crazy way. Everyone's always in the right spot at the right time, and I am the biggest believer of that in everything. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people run around life with blinders on and don't keep if you keep your eyes wide open, you're going to see opportunities everywhere. And that was kind of when, like I said, we met a week ago, and I think they make a song about that. But when we met, it was just like, I don't know, I felt like there was something there, and we were introduced by a current client of ours, friend of mine now.
Yeah, me too.
And thank you, Cameron.
Thank you, Cameron Ray.
But it's crazy how that progression in just a week.
Seriously.
All this stuff we've talked about, all the opportunities that we have already spoke about to help others. Yeah. And kind of when you put two heads together, what comes out of it.
Right.
So,
and it's crazy because the connection, I don't know too much about you, but like go a little bit into like how like you grew up. Yeah. I'm starting to understand that you came from a little bit of money.
Yeah. So my dad was successful in business, and he's always been a business owner. He's always worked for himself, and he's done well. But he's always instilled this work ethic in my brother and I that realistically I feel like is unmatched a lot of times. Yeah. And that's probably one of the things I'm most thankful for, that I don't mind working. I enjoy working. I enjoy doing the right thing and making a name for myself out in this world. And we talk about building personal brands and doing all these other things. But growing up, I went to Kearney, Missouri, not Nebraska. Yeah. And went to college at Northwest and got out and was in the automotive industry and did very well in the automotive industry. And I think it was an amazing stepping stone to give me a lot of tools to go out into the world. Right. And I think a lot of times people look back and regret on something and think that was a regretful time, that I was in the car business for 3 years working astronomical hours. I was making good money. Yeah. But it also gave me the capital to start something of my own.
It's interesting you say that because you're young.
28
years old. Now, are you saying that from experience of your own, or are you saying that experience from somebody you looked up to and you saw that they regretted?
It's crazy that with what we do, I work with 90 plus business owners in Kansas City currently. Okay. And I feel like I'm running at like turbo speed because I'm getting to learn these things from so many people. Mm-hmm. That I think a lot of times a business owner, they may work doing something for 25 years to get that experience. I feel I'm getting 90 times what the average person gets, like knowledge-based, learning business, learning these things. Yeah. That I get to help others with something I may learn from someone else. Right. And it's just kind of, I learned a lot from my dad, like 100%. Right. Getting to watch from the forefront.
Did you appreciate it because a lot of kids that have it, they don't appreciate it when they have it, and then they kind of have to go back and retract when they start.
So I always appreciated what my dad did. I appreciated the material stuff that we had and items, but it was also the work side of it. Most people didn't understand how he grew up. And that's my deal, is like a lot of times people are like, oh, you come from money, blah, blah, blah. And they always have something to say, the silver spoon or whatever they want. But it was, I'd put anyone up saying, hey, come live a day in my shoes. Yeah. My dad was not an easy man to live with. That he got us up at 5:30 every single morning. We were working. We were doing stuff like where most kids have chores, taking the trash out. That wasn't a chore.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't a chore doing the dishes. It wasn't a chore doing those things. That was shit that was just supposed to be done. Mm-hmm. Our chores were mowing 20 acres every single week. Our chores were making sure the barn's clean. Our chores were making sure all these, like, real tasks were being done. Like, a storm comes and knocks trees down and everything. We're out in the gator with chainsaws and everything, getting trees cut up, getting trees all back to the back of the property, getting all this stuff done. That there were so many more things to be done that I look at kids that grew up with money and their chore was taking the trash out each week.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't correlate into real life, and real life hits people in the face really hard. But I was very appreciative of what I had, and I saw my dad work hard.
Yeah.
So I appreciated what he did for our family, and but I think all those stepping stones have led me right to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And gave me that foundation just to build upon.
I love it.
Let's go into your background.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I know you said you grew up Utah, California, Vegas.
Yeah.
So kind of all over the place.
I'd say I'm still growing up, right? So
how old are you?
I'm 33.
33.
Just turned 33 in November. So, but I grew up in Utah. So I was actually adopted at 3 months old. So I didn't know any different. So I was adopted by a family out there, and I didn't do anything spectacular as a kid, right? But it was more of I'm the one who didn't appreciate what I had, right? I didn't appreciate the access I had to certain people, my parents included. I didn't appreciate it growing up. I was just into having fun.
Yeah.
And honestly, right now, I look back and I'm so happy I did, because it's all out of my system, right? I can really, I think that's what separates me in the business world, is I think I can really sit down and I can focus on something with zero distraction.
Yeah.
On the most boring night, I will choose movie night with the kids, with my laptop beside me over going out.
Yeah.
Because I did everything that you would want to do, and I mean everything. I did it. That's just how I was.
I was very much the same way. When I got to college, I partied harder than the next guy, and I think that's almost good to go get that out of your system.
It is.
That I look at people now still at 28 years old that they thrive for going to P&L or Westport or things of that nature, and there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
But it's not my scene anymore. I've done my partying. I like going out. When I was spending $2-3 grand on bottle service at PBR, like I look back at now, I'd way rather go out and spend that money at a dinner at Eddie V's.
Yeah.
Or going out to a nice dinner, sitting with people I really want to be with.
100%.
And then also have educated conversations like this.
Yeah.
That the next morning I get up and I was like, wow, that was
right.
That was great.
Exactly.
Not getting up like, oh my God, what happened last night? Like, I don't care for those nights anymore.
Right. And that's kind of what I've appreciated, right? Is just because it's out of my system. And now I'm able to, but it did teach me how to have relationships, right? And it taught me what friendships to focus on. It taught me what friendships not to focus on. And it taught me a lot about people. Yeah. And that's really the business I became, is it's about people, right? A little bit more about my background is I got into software accidentally. So I was in sales. I was helping put together a call center, and I stumbled upon software. I came up with a process of eliminating a lot of things that just weren't healthy for a software call center. And I was able to fix it manually with a team that I would bring in during the graveyard shift. And with that, we were able to turn it into a software. Before that, I didn't even know. Software to me was like, I didn't know the difference of hardware, software, right? And so I accidentally stumbled upon that, and it's changed my life ever since. And all it was a platform for me to really use what I enjoy doing, which is working with people, talking, having conversations like this, having conversations and stimulating growth between two individuals. And I love doing that. And so software, I'll always be grateful for it, but I think I'm done. Yeah, because it served its purpose, but there's so many lessons that you can learn. I actually, just learned that like the best income in life, like it doesn't come from money, it comes from relationships.
Oh,
and it comes from
100% agree on that. I think that is something that too many people discount how valuable relationships are.
Right. And that kind of goes in, that kind of actually goes into exactly what I do. Is a lot of people, I think, take that for granted, right? And a lot of people don't understand how many tools they have within their ecosystem that they're not using correctly, or they're not even, noticing. They just think they're in a pickle.
Yeah.
They think they're in this pickle that's bigger than everybody else's pickle, and that's kind of what I do, is I get them back onto the track that they need to do. And so I think, and it really is just a perspective, right, that I've been able to adapt on from the time I was little, from the time I was adopted, going through with those issues, which I didn't even really know until now I'm older.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what.
So when you got out of software,
Yeah.
and what did that transition look like? Because I know you took a large exit from the software space.
Yeah.
So what does that transition look like over into, how old were you when you sold?
31.
So at 31,
Yeah.
you sell. What does that look like? All of a sudden, this huge influx of money. I think there's a lot of people out there think if one day they had this huge influx of money come in, all their problems are gone.
They were for a very short time.
Yeah.
For a very short time, right? Right when you run into money, you feel like you just robbed a bank legally, right? And so it was fun. It was fast. It was, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this, right? We were doing things that we've never done. We were eating places that we've never ate. We were traveling places that we've never traveled. And there was so many things fulfilled, right? And there was so many things fulfilled, but there was the void almost got bigger, right?
Yeah.
So my bank account got bigger, my to-do list, or my activities got bigger, but my void got bigger.
Yeah.
Because I realized that I was just like, money's not the happen. And I've said that before in podcasts that I've been on. Money's just a tool. Mm-hmm. And you said it too to me.
Yeah.
Money is just a tool, and if you don't use it right, it
it
won't
is
be effective.
I had someone on, so I also have another podcast. So I have the M3 podcast. I go, business owners come on. I discuss their coming up, the obstacles that they have, the obstacles that they overcome, everything of that nature.
Yeah.
And I had an individual on our podcast this week, and he said, if your only problems come from money, you don't have any problems.
100%.
And when he said that, it was one of those things that I got on the phone right afterwards, and I was calling Madison, it's my fiance, and I was like telling her that, and I was like, that just like rang home so hard, that so many people think they have all these issues that are revolving around money, which realistically you have no issues. Like, if that is what your problems are, you don't have real problems.
100%.
Like, there's people fighting way bigger fights than any of us will ever know.
Right.
At this current point, that it's just, I think people get lost with money too. And I know a lot of people with a lot of money, and some of the people that I have talked with, they said they were 100 times happier when they had no money.
Yeah.
That this money brought all these new problems into their life that they don't know who their real friends are anymore. They don't know who's wanting to talk to them just because they have money or they don't. Mm-hmm. And they're like, when I had no money and people want to be friends with me, I knew they want to be friends with me, like, just for me. Yeah. There was no plus side to being friends. Like, there wasn't some crazy, it was the relationship that those people had. The money was not a factor in it. Yeah. And I think that holds really heavy for a lot of people that get into that. And you can ask anyone that's around me, that's my biggest fear in life.
What is it?
Making money and being successful, I know I'm going to do.
There you go.
100%. Like, that's not a question. Yeah. My fear is getting to that level and not having people around me. Yeah. Like, you can
talked about that.
You can make the money, you can have the jet, you can have the cool cars, you can have all those things, but if there's not a group of people around you, I don't want it. Right. Like, I talk to everyone that works here all the time. I'm like, when we get that jet, everyone's sitting on it. Yeah. Like, I'm not riding it. I'm not flying around by myself. What fun is that? Yeah. 100%. So I think and you, I think, probably see it from a level of a lot of people coming into money that maybe their network of people around them don't have money. Mm-hmm. and try to take advantage of those things. People come out of the woodwork, and I saw it when I got into the car space. I had people coming up that I wasn't friends with in high school. It's like, Dana, yeah, we're best friends in high school. I'm like, no, I've never talked to you. That's funny. Yeah. Just to try to get a job.
Right.
But it's, I don't know. I feel like you probably see that a lot because you do. That's why we have the sports image up here. I was trying to find something to put up for this first one.
Right.
But you work with a lot of
professional athletes.
Yep. So what does it look like working with professional athletes all the time?
Oh, geez, professional athletes. I mean, so my biggest shock, right? Because going into, especially with the NFL, right? We'll start with the NFL. The NFL, usually you can't go straight from high school. Well, you never can go straight from high school. So I'm going in thinking they have a solid base of education, right? And then I'm going in thinking they have all this money, right? And so I'm thinking going into coaching them, it's probably just not as bad as they think it is. And I just need to kind of shed some light on it. But then going into meeting with them, they have so many, and it's the same problems that everybody have, but everything's on a huge level. Mm-hmm. Everything's under a huge microscope. And some of them are scared to make moves just because they became somebody that people depend on. Yeah. People depend on them to provide money. People depend, and that's what the relationship is based off of, right? Like, hey, I need this, and then it's a similar kind of thing. It's different, it's similar, but when some of these guys, they don't come from a lot, right? And so they said the same thing you're saying to the employees, like, hey, when I have a jet, we're all riding on it. Yeah. Right. Now, a lot happens from that time to that time, but the guilt trips that they're put on because they didn't bring certain friends, certain homies with them, right? It really plays a toll on their mental, right? When in reality, someone from the outside, like, how hard is it to play football for a living? Like, that's your job. Yeah. You wake up, you go work out, you play football, and you go home and you have a family. You do whatever you want, right? With all this money. But there's so many other aspects that have been brought into their life. So coaching them, honestly, their problems are just magnified, and they're microscoped to a point where they're just normal people that have the same tendencies as us. Like, there's nothing special. Now, I'm not saying these people aren't special. Yeah. There's nothing special besides what they do for work. Yeah. And that's really just the audience that makes it special. Because without an audience, they're just normal. You know what I mean? It's the same exact thing.
Without an audience, they would be playing football in a random field somewhere. Exactly. They have a skill set that people want to watch. Yes. And human beings enjoy competition.
100%.
If it's competition within work, if it's competition on a football field, if it's competition on a basketball field or basketball court, whatever that nature, people enjoy watching that. That's why people pay to go to these games. That's why the NFL makes the money it makes. That's why all these different athletic sports pull so much money. Yeah. And that's why they get paid such large sums of money.
100%. And we see that. We see the large paid out players. We see that on the public, right? They're the ones that are talked about. They're the ones that, they have endorsement deals. Like, you hear about players that, I don't spend my football money. I only spend endorsement money. But there's 80% of the league that doesn't have that opportunity. Yeah. Right? And there's but they still have the same magnifying glass as the person, like the Tom Brady's and the,
And that's what we've had discussions about, that these individuals are given such a big platform. Yeah. And so many of them don't go take it.
Exactly.
We talk about the opportunities that are out there. Yes. That they don't have endorsement deals because they haven't built their platform. They go build a platform, they can have endorsement deals. Yeah. That there's an individual we talk about that became TikTok famous, and he's flipped around to a couple different teams, and he's not even a star player.
Yeah, I saw that. He's like on practice squad now.
Yeah, he's a practice squad guy, and he's getting like endorsement stuff all over TikTok. People are sending free stuff, but he just went out and made a platform for himself. Yep. and he's making probably more than some of those guys that are playing out there.
Yeah.
From doing something that he built that is also going to be suitable to work after he stops playing.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of our conversation has been about, is what we can do to start building platforms for people. And
100%.
There's so much personal branding to be had that it's something that I've done it with a company that I branded a company. I help companies everywhere brand, and it can be done on a personal level too.
Yes.
And when those people have that magnifying glass on them, that's an opportunity. That is the biggest opportunity there is. If somebody said, hey, we're going to put a magnifying glass on what you do, I'm going to say, put 3 of them on.
Right.
I want it. Like,
yes.
Let us prove ourselves. Let us show up. Like, let us put it out there.
Yes. And that's how we cross paths. Because up till now, I've been coaching, and then recently just started coaching NFL players. Right? It just kind of fell into my hands with software. They were investors as well, and so they just kind of came in, and that's how it happened. And so as we came into pass, right, we kind of saw how we could connect with each other. We could connect with these players because change the magnifying glass into a positive one from a negative one. Yep. And now all of a sudden they have all these different streams of income. And it's not about income. It's about streams of opportunity, right? They can do what they want to do. They can move about how they want to move. And these people are so interesting, right? And they have so much to share because, I mean, the NFL or professional athletes, they do live a life that very few people get to live.
Oh,
right.
I mean, there's kids out there everywhere that dream of that.
Yeah.
And think about being able to make a difference on those kids' lives because you put out content all the time.
Right.
Think about how many of them are out there that think that, well, I'm not as good as the Tom Brady. I don't have a platform like Tom Brady.
Right.
That's just because you didn't go get it.
Exactly. 100%.
He got up and he said, I was going to go get it. And he's 100%. Done it. Like, and you look at the Patrick Mahomes, you look at all these guys, like they've taken their platform.
Yeah.
And they've built it. That's why they get those big endorsement deals.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the best player on the field to still make an impact.
You don't. Because you still fall under that perspective of you guys are all one.
And they still have made it to that. I don't even know what I'd be lying if I threw out a percentage of how many high school players went to college that went to the NFL.
Yes.
But that percentage is
so small.
So small.
Yeah.
So if you're walking on that field, guess what? You've made it
100%
to go get your platform.
Yes.
And so many of these guys go out there, and I feel like they collect checks for a couple years, and we discussed it right before this started.
Yeah.
So think about doing something since 4 years old or 5 years old when these guys are bred to do it their whole entire lives. They go to college. They're not focusing on what they're doing at college. They're looking at signing their first deal out of college.
Yep.
And they figure out, hey, that was a 2-year endeavor. Now what?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything to brand build when I was doing it. I didn't do any of these things I should have been doing. I was focusing so much on playing the game that the game's over now. Now what?
100%. And that's that's exactly what I'm seeing. And they're coming to me for like some energy work because our energy is actually getting bigger. Just having the right energy, laws of attraction, that's been around a little bit longer. But they're asking me to like, hey, like everything is an exchange, everything with energy. And they're realizing that their physical is good, their mental is good, and their spiritual. There's 3 things that I try to focus on, right? And with these guys, the good thing is I really don't have to focus on their physical.
Yeah.
That's their job. Their mental, a little bit of mindset changes, right? But a lot of it, they hear and they're around, but a lot of it, they just haven't took it in as theirs, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think I was gravitated to this relationship that we have in business is because we're 2 people that see something and can adapt and be like, that's mine.
Yeah, and I think mindset's the biggest factor in so many things. And I have a coaching group that takes place every single Wednesday as our live calls, and I help teach people on marketing and business. And the calls are majority mindset, but it's so big when you do that every single week, the difference that it makes in the long term. 100%. And it's just like practicing anything that people think today I'm going to go home and say I'm going to be a more positive person.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. You're not just going to wake up tomorrow. Unless you have some crazy life-changing event, most of the time that just doesn't come out of nowhere. And so it's something you have to practice. You have to practice being positive. You have to practice these things. And then they start just becoming second nature. Like, I'm someone that I always practice that every single day I get up, that I'm going to be the most positive person that anyone runs into that day.
Yeah.
And I strive for that, but it gravitates the right people. And I think when you start doing that mindset stuff, that you take someone that works in California that makes $500,000, and this is straight from Grant Cardone talks about it.
Okay.
And they come here, they will make $500,000. Everyone here is going to think they're rich because cost of living is different.
Exactly.
They go to Florida, they're going to make $500,000. They put in their head that they are worth $500,000.
100%.
But then you have people that are here and they put $100,000 in their head. They will always make $100,000. Like they set these caps on a price point, but then people do the same thing with mindset.
Yeah.
They set these like kind of caps. I can't be that positive of a person all the time. No, you can be. You've just set that cap that you're not going to be.
Exactly.
So I think when you start adjusting that mindset, I think it changes.
Mindset's everything. Mindset is the first thing we work on. Mindset.
I live by that, and that's how I hire people.
Yeah.
Is strictly on mindset. That I've sat down with probably some of the most accredited people that come to the table that have just 99.9% companies would probably give anything to have them.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to them, and their mindset is just not someone I want to surround myself with.
Right.
And it's like, no, they're like, well, what do I not have?
Yeah. Mindset.
You don't have the mind
there.
that is going to elevate everyone around you. I mean, you may have a great resume.
Yeah.
Your resume is probably better than mine.
Mostly every time, right?
Exactly.
They're always better than ours.
But that mindset is what brings the value. That mindset is what puts the right people around me every day. That mindset is what scales a company. That mindset is what scales an athlete. That mindset is what put that athlete on that field.
Right.
Like, that is the foundation to anything, I feel.
And that's the thing I noticed with these guys, right? They have the right mindset when it comes to what they do. Mm-hmm. They have the right mindset. They put their head down, they put their hoodie on, they put their headphones on, whatever they choose to do. They do it and they go to work for hours. I'm talking like they wake up and they train, they go to sleep. They wake up and they train, they go to sleep, right? And they repeat that process every single day, 5 times, 4 times a day. And so they have the right mindset. It's just adjusting the mindset. And I mean, it's part of being in 2022, right? It's being able to be versatile enough to be able to take on all these different things.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, and I think it's also like kind of like a generational wealth thing, we weren't taught sometimes to do that, especially in communities. You know, some of these guys that I trained in the communities they grew up in, they were just taught like NFL. Yeah. That's what you're going to do, right? We weren't taught that social media was a way of income. Mm-hmm. We weren't taught that, grabbing your phone and actually putting it in front of your face and talking to it is going to make you money, right? That was more like sissy stuff, right? And so dealing with these athletes, that's what I've learned to come to find out.
And that's once again goes back to just the opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
And 100%, I've gotten to the spot where like I'm spending more and more and more money on content, but there's going to come a day in the next 12 months, I will have a full-time content person on me 24 hours a day, like all day long.
100%.
And there's too much money to be had. That there's cameras on us right now. This is the 3rd time today I've been in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And but content's always rolling out. And everywhere I go, people are like, every time I jump on the internet, I see you. And you watch, like, when you start becoming front of mind to people all the time, you build a brand.
Yes.
And I'm building a brand being nobody from Kearney, Missouri that's going to make a name for myself. You have somebody that's walking into a stadium that is completely jam-packed, wall-to-wall, thousands of people, that your name's being announced, that you can run into a stadium and leave that stadium with 10,000 more Instagram followers.
Right.
Like, that is crazy when it comes to what those individuals could do if they actually focused on doing that. And then afterwards, I mean, they would have brands, the ones that have done it.
The ones that have done it.
The ones that have done it, like the writing's already on the wall.
Yes.
It's nothing new.
Right.
Like you say, hey, this guy has all these followers and people. How many endorsement deals does he have? Yeah. Brands are chasing him.
Yes.
Brands will now pay, like, there's brands out there that I know a guy that got paid $50,000 to do an unboxing.
Yeah.
Just unboxing. That they didn't even want it posted on his stuff. That he just had a following. They wanted his face. He got a $50,000 check and a free product to unbox it. To send it back.
And that's the mindset of just being willing to be open to that.
Yep.
You connect with the right people, and they will put you in front of that. Right. And I think that's where we made our connection.
Yep.
It's because I had these connections, and I was helping them to a point of where, okay, I'm open.
Yeah.
Right. When they were leaving me, they're like, okay, I see what's after football. I see the fact that, like, I don't just have to offer football. A lot of people, they think I have to go into coaching because that just follows, right? But these guys have so much to offer. Everybody has so much to offer. The kid from Kearney, the kid from Utah, we all have so much to offer that we probably would feel funny talking about, but people would love, people need to hear it.
Oh, 100%. My eyes were pretty open to it. This is what, November?
Yeah.
Like 45 days ago.
Okay.
I'm in Utah at Vertical Union.
Yeah.
And you have Sean Whalen on stage talking, and he's like, anyone in this room, he goes, and he picks out an HVAC guy.
Yeah.
There's an HVAC guy there.
Okay.
He goes, you own your own HVAC company? He's like, yeah. He goes, how many HVAC guys are out in the United States that would love to own their own company that don't know how to start it, have the knowledge? He goes, how long have you been in it? The guy's like 20-something years. He goes, how much more knowledge do you have in HVAC than a lot of the people you're around? He goes, well, a lot. He goes, you can have a coaching group. And he goes along the line, just picks out every single person and tells them why they could help others.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, on the basics of marketing, I have people call me asking me how to share things.
Yeah.
I have people call, like, things that I find simple.
Right.
That I've had people call me and they're like, what would you pay? Like, what would you charge to build a Facebook for me? I'm like, just send me over info. I'll have it built in like 5 minutes. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah.
I was like, why not have a coaching group where I just say, hey, you go in and here it is, you're going to learn about it. Like, I'll walk you step by step how to get it done.
Right.
And it's like, I started and just,
yes, it just goes
I was
crazy.
like, holy crap, there's people that actually want to listen to me. Like
100%.
There is value to every single person. Anything that you do, there's value to it.
Everything.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Yep.
On every level. And that's what people just need to understand.
Yeah.
Right. And but it's just not taught. Right.
No, it's not
something
taught.
that's taught. And until, fortunately, right, we've been in groups where people have been able to tell us that.
Yeah.
A lot of these people never get that. A lot of these people don't get that. But we all have something in common because everybody I talk to, they always want to leave something for the generation behind them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's content is the best thing to leave. Like, it's real estate that's going to be online forever.
That's when I started my podcast. That's probably one of the coolest things about it is I podcast every single week.
Yeah.
And I will always do that. And I sit there and think about, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years from now, when I'm still rocking podcasts every week.
Yeah.
That when I pass and I have kids, like, how cool would that be to, like, your kids that you have thousands of podcasts, they can sit there and listen to their dad talk every single week.
Exactly.
Like, how cool would that be?
And to know what it is, right? Because I'm gonna tie it into the athletes again, right? These athletes, a lot of them, they have like 1 or 2 kids, right? And they started late, right? They started maybe in their 30s, but like, if they start podcasting when they're 20, right, and before they have kids, then like, their 21-year-old kid can go back online and look and see what was my dad thinking at 21 years old.
Yeah.
And really start okay, this is where his mind was. Because I'm sure like I know, like when I take advice from my dad, I'm like, well, of course you would say that. Like, look how much life you've lived.
Yeah.
I want to know what you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Where did the decision-making come for you to get to where you're at? I don't want to know the final perfect answer because people will give you the perfect answers. Because the people that lived it will know exactly what to do.
And that's, I always look at that as like chapters to chapters.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always a chapters to chapters person that when I'm discussing something with someone that's 50 years old.
Yeah.
Their chapter is a lot different than my chapter.
100%.
And it's, like you said, I want to know what that 28-year-old self was thinking. 100%. And a lot of times it's crazy how many, like, of those people you talk to that you think that are so far out there to, like, achieve what they've done. Oh. And you talk to them and they're like, 28, I didn't have anything together. I was a wreck.
Nothing together.
And you read Grant Cardone's book and he's like, at what, 30 years old, dude had nothing going for him. And he's like still selling cars. And I'm like in the car space. And it was what he's transformed into doing. And there's so many of these people that didn't figure their shit out till they're like 30.
Yeah.
To where I'm like looking chapters to chapters, and I'm like,
but it's a race.
Yeah.
It's it's a race with nobody else is racing you.
Yeah.
But you are racing everybody else. Everybody has it in their head that like, oh, I'm 30. I should have this. I should have this. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's just like, dude, it's not the time to think that. It's you got to change your mindset. Now, if you know this information and you still don't have it, then yes. That's a total different coaching moment that I would have to have. But for most people, they just don't know their opportunity.
And I was guilty of when I started this. I preached to everyone of what to do, and I helped companies scale. Mm-hmm. And I did all that. I wasn't doing it myself. Yeah. And I still had this insecurity inside of me. That I'm like, I'm not getting on my phone and talking in front of my phone. And up until February of this year, you weren't going to find a video of me out there.
Yeah.
And we started the podcast. And after the podcast started, it has changed my life this year. That 2022 is the year that I will always look back at. That like everything changed.
Yeah. And I still watch clips of myself, and I'm just like, what was I doing? I still get that cringe, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it needs to be put out there.
It does.
It really, when I say needs to, that's really what I mean. Like, I stopped encouraging people. I'm like, you need to start just documenting what you're doing, because people would love to hear it. And not everybody. And it's not, and they think like, well, I know this person won't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they think that. They think they know.
But it's also like, don't focus on the outliers. Like, you're not going to make everyone happy.
100%.
There's no way to. Like, any human being that walks the planet can tell you that they have not figured out a way to make everyone happy.
Right.
No matter what you do. And it is one of those things that when you focus on that, you lose so much. That I have shifted everything of how I can help people, and I have got backlash of people sending DMs to me off of reels I post and different things like that. Yeah. And every single time I get backlash from whatever it is, that everyone thinks they know my story. They think they know everything about me.
Right.
They don't know shit about me.
Exactly.
All they know is what they see. They see the nice houses. They see the nice cars. They see all this, the material items, which that people, once again, running with blinders on. Yeah. They don't pay attention to the hours I put in at work. Yeah. They don't pay attention to what I do and me putting myself out there all the time, taking that step that everyone else is afraid to take. Yeah. And so when you get that backlash, I just tell everyone all the time, hey, keep watching.
Keep watching. Exactly.
Like, jealousy at its finest is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And the bigger you get, the more money you make, and the more successful you get, the longer that line gets. Right. And it's just, and I think that's what scares a lot of, and I'm not speaking from experience by any means, but I think that's what scares a lot of those athletes.
100%.
Is probably that backlash that they're going to get from if they play for the Chiefs or they play for Green Bay. Mm-hmm. Guess what? There's a lot of other teams out there that they all hate that person before you ever even do anything, just 100%. Because who you play for.
Right. When in reality, their hate, it stops. Hate doesn't have a lot of, what's the word? It doesn't have a lot of fullness behind it. No, right? It usually stops pretty quick.
Yep.
And it's usually reason why, and that's just mostly in that aspect of life. When you don't know somebody, the hate stops really quick. Yeah. All they really want to do is, who is it? Who are you? Yeah. And as soon as you open up that platform, you have all these NFL players that they live this crazy lifestyle of expectations, making everybody happy, right? Signing autographs, right? And like they just, some people just don't feel like it. They just don't, you know what I mean? Because they have so much going on in their normal life. I went to one guy's house this last weekend, and we were at his house, and this guy has 4 in-laws living with him. So him and his wife, and his wife's 4 siblings live with him.
Wow. Yeah. It's a full house.
It's a full, and I'm talking, they are sucking the energy from this guy, just nonstop. But he does it to keep them happy.
And the funniest thing that I feel, that I don't know this scenario at all. Yeah. But I feel like they are all there trying to tell him how to do everything.
Oh, 100%.
And that's
you would think they played in the NFL.
Exactly. And I feel, I had a tip that came out like last week about it, is so many people trying to tell everyone else how to do things when they've never done it. Yeah. That I'm not like, if I'm speaking to a professional athlete, I'm going to talk and speak with him on how to increase his platform, how to increase his presence, how to market himself better, doing what I do.
Yes.
And my company does.
I'm going to interrupt you because I did that. So I thought about when we got introduced to each other, right? I'm like, is this somebody, like I had that energy about you. I'm like, I want to work with this guy. I want to work with this guy. But then first thing I did, your brother added me on social media. So I looked at his social media.
He doesn't do a whole lot.
He doesn't do a lot. But then I went to yours, but I looked at your company's social media.
Yeah.
Right? And okay, you post every day.
Yeah, there's stories going up all the time.
It's going up.
There's reels all the time, and it's like
now it pops up in my feed, like this guy that's telling people, right? And I think that's really big. I think that's why we hit it well. So we hit it so well is because I'm not telling people to do things in the coaching that I'm not doing myself.
Exactly.
Now I might come up with a new idea based off a conversation where I'm like, hey, you should try this, and I just haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% if it's going to benefit me, I'm going to try it. Same thing with you. You're not telling people to make a personal round without going through it yourself.
Yeah.
Learning it is a little weird talking to yourself. But that's something that we offer authentically that we can really help these guys and just build.
I think it comes with, it's crazy how fast that confidence builds. And it's crazy how fast the skills build with it.
Yeah.
That if we go back and listen to my first podcast from February, like it was trash. Like I'm not going to deny it. Like the
I haven't
format,
seen it. I'm not agreeing, but yeah,
it is. You don't have to. You can agree with me on that. But it was just the whole thing was not formatted. Like the format was off. I was off. I was so uncomfortable. Like you could just read that I was uncomfortable. And I watched a podcast that we did like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
I was like, you want to talk about progression?
Yeah.
Like, and it makes it to where now I feel that I am getting, and I continue to progress. I continue to get better. I continue to push that envelope of what I can do to bring more value to the world. And when doing that, it makes it a lot easier when I'm helping someone that hasn't even taken that first step to start.
100%.
I'm like, I understand it. Like exactly. It's hard. Like
it is,
and
you know what I mean. Like you get the nerves, and you think like, is people going to see this? And
yeah,
I'm telling you.
Now I roll out like all kinds of random stuff. Like a couple podcasts ago, I threw on some like weird glasses and a hat and everything. And I had like my grandma text me. She's like, "What? Do you wear glasses now?" Yeah. I'm like, I'm just funny, dude. But it's that's like I really don't care what people think anymore.
Right.
And it's also, I feel that the traction of that stuff is short-lived.
Yep.
That, okay, if somebody has a problem with something, a reel I put out, they're probably done with it by next week.
And that's actually the key to happiness.
Yeah.
Is stop caring what people, but it's something that some people have to be helped with.
Oh, for sure.
They're in a situation where they just cannot see that light at the end of that tunnel. But just doing stuff, not like without saying sorry for it, and without being unapologetic, right? Like that's one of the biggest keys to happiness.
Yeah.
Right. And you have all these coaches selling, fitness. They sell all these different things. And I'm just like, you have to be happy within your own shell. Yes, if I were to go to the gym every day for the rest of my life and just get super fit, I would be happy. But I'd realize real quick that like the sadness wasn't from being unhealthy. It was sadness from, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's a mindset thing.
And that's, I think, when it comes to the gym and it comes to business, it comes to whatever vertical it is, that Ed Milet talks about that happiness comes from, and self-confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself.
100%.
That
you
is.
said that. You said you make it's. I've actually picked that up. You said that you make your team make promises to the team and themselves. I actually started doing that because when I heard it, I loved it. You know what I mean? And I did it, not knowing, not with intention. I used to make promises because
I think a lot of people, it's easy when you. I tell everyone the only person I answer to is a man in the mirror every morning. And that is who I answer to. But it's when I tell myself I'm going to the gym and I go to the gym, that is a promise I kept to myself, and that builds that confidence. If I tell myself I'm going to make X amount of dollars in business, like when you hit those points that you tell yourself you're going to do something and then you do it, and you always do that, it's really easy to keep promises to others. That when I can sit down with someone and we go over having a podcast and doing all this stuff, like I am 500% confident in it. Mm-hmm. Like no questions asked, but and I relay that to everyone that I work with. And my whole team is we sit down Mondays and we go over the promises that they made that they're going to start doing X, Y, and Z. And when you start doing that, they start building self-confidence. I want everyone around me to be just as confident.
100%.
Like when you carry everyone up, the mountain moves faster.
Oh, so much faster.
It's crazy that I thought growth looked like this just streamlined line that just kind of keeps going. Yeah. And I feel like that's how a lot of people think growth looks. And I figured out really fast as people started coming on, this growth path went like this, and we went this way for a while. And there went from what used to take me 10 days to do now gets done in a day, but actually more efficient people to where it probably gets done in like a half a day. And this growth pattern went straight up.
Yeah.
Now I can sit on podcasts and do things like this on a Friday afternoon, and we have 90 accounts being handled everywhere, and we have content being done, and we have websites being built, and we have all these
different ways
of work being done and being done more efficiently by better people. That every single person that works for me is way more talented than I am.
100%.
So it's like, I want to be viewed as a individual in 10 years when I have this huge marketing company. They're like, dude, he is the best at finding the right people and finding the most value and bringing those people to the highest level. If I have that, I'll be happy. Right. I don't care what the money looks like, but
100%.
The money will follow that.
The money will always follow that.
Yeah.
And that's what people and it starts with just putting your head down and going to work.
Oh, 100%.
That's what it starts with.
Yeah.
And so if people would learn that, it's just get out of your head and get in your head at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Get the right mindset, but get out of your head and just put your head down and go to work.
Yeah.
Right? Now that doesn't mean go to your 9 to 5. It might mean that at the time, right? But it means really go to work on yourself.
And that's a lot too I speak about this all the time is idea or execution. They're completely different things. There's people I know that just have ideas all the time. And you can ask anybody that's around me, if I come up with an idea and I say it out loud, you better bet your ass it's happening within probably the next 48 hours or 72 hours. Like once it becomes an idea in my head, I normally process it for about 24 hours, and then I'm going to say it out loud. Then once it hits everyone, that's a promise I've now made to myself that I'm now putting, like, people that know me know I don't just say stuff and it doesn't happen.
Right.
But I gravitate towards people that take action also. Like when you're around people that take action and you're always taking action, you can read successful people pretty quick by how fast they take action.
Right.
People that take action fast, they're going to have failure. Failure comes. That's not something that you can avoid.
Yeah.
100%. But it's learning from it. But keep taking action. Keep working. Keep pushing that needle forward.
Yeah.
You're going to adapt. You're going to figure out. You're going to overcome those obstacles. But you're always taking action. You're always working. You're moving that needle further forward.
100%. And that's what. Yeah. It's funny because that actually comes into coaching, right? We find out that people are just making unrealistic statements. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Like they're almost walking into a gas station and saying like, I'm about to buy the lottery ticket. And it's like, that's a big promise you're making to people.
Yeah.
And that's what people really, and we go in and we say, hey, let's start off with small wins. Like I'm going to the gym today. I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. I'm going to do this. Like we start off with little wins, and it's
compound.
It's a domino effect.
Yep.
Right? On like, making promises to yourself, you'll be more comfortable making promises to a group. And we all have had it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People that are like that, a lot of people don't understand, like at one point in their life, they probably overpromised way too much. A lot of people.
Yep.
And but you'll never see that side of him unless you lived it. That's where hate comes from.
Yep.
People are like, oh, well, actually, they overpromised me this and they didn't come through.
Yeah.
Right? But majority of people see you as a successful person. And that's what the people need to realize is like all of these battles that they're going through, all of these battles that they think that like are just, oh, nobody's going to take me serious anymore. Like, no, it's part of the process that everybody at the successful point that you're looking at, that you think you want to be at, they've went through it.
Yeah, and it builds more credibility when you get there too. Like, as we've scaled and we've became bigger as a company on my forefront, it's built a lot more credibility behind us that, like, they know what I've went through. That as a business owner to business owner, they see that those things that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
And I think it's just everyone in life's at a different spot in that. Everyone's overcoming something different.
Right.
But it's how you overcome those things. And when I see someone that's in really good shape, I'm like, high five, I know what you went through.
Exactly.
I was there before.
And
it's like, am I in great shape now? No.
Yeah.
But it's like, I have a lot of things. And
but if you look at you compared to the old, you probably are, because it's consistency that has got there.
Well, I consistently go to the gym. I don't work out like I used to. I used to go to the gym like twice a day.
Okay.
I ate crazy healthy.
Yeah.
But that didn't bring happiness to me.
Okay.
I didn't find happiness in eating chicken and rice all the time and trying to be the leanest version of myself.
Right.
Yeah, it was great being in shape but it wasn't something that I lifted really heavy weight all the time. My joints hurt. I actually hurt more then than I do now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm consistently in the gym, but I eat what I want. Like
100%.
Last night I ate like 5 Oreo balls and they were phenomenal. Like,
but it's part of enjoying life, right?
I enjoy, like, I look at it all the time that I don't know when my ticket's going to be stamped, but I'm enjoying every day that I'm here. And I go to the gym every day, and I'll have whatever I want to eat. I'm going to have drinks. I'm going to live the lifestyle I want to live that makes me 100% happy every day. And that's all I can ask for myself every day.
And I like what you said, because what makes you happy, because really that's the biggest thing, is we have to, so many, and it's a primary thing. We learn this when we're kids.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to fill up somebody else's glass if your glass is half empty or half full.
Yeah.
Right? And that is exactly what everybody is trying to do. Everybody is trying to operate on a half full glass, some less. Right? And every now and then we get a glimpse of somebody operating in a full glass, and we put it in a realm that we might get there.
Yeah.
Right? I might get there, maybe. Like, well, if I had what they had, of course my glass would be full.
Yeah.
And that's just it's right. They're right about that, but it's the wrong outlook. Yeah. It's like, well, let me fill my glass and I'll actually be there.
And I think on that, a lot of times people try to find, like, they'll see somebody that's successful and they think there's one thing that makes them successful.
Yep.
It's because they're in the gym and they do all this stuff and they're in really good shape. That's exactly why they're successful. That's it. Like, or maybe the dude's a complete animal at sales. Maybe the dude is phenomenal at something that isn't being shown all day, every day. So then it's like, when I chased fitness and being in really good shape, it was because I had problems in school. I didn't have any money. Like, I was a broke ass college kid.
Yeah.
Like, and my Madison, which is fiance now, girlfriend at that time.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I'm a better version just if I'm in really good shape.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's like what she's looking for. I don't have anything else like super great to offer right now.
Yeah.
Like, so it was one of those things that I was trying to counteract, because I created these illusions in my head that, no, she liked me for who I was. Like, it had nothing to do with
It's crazy how that works. Huh?
Exactly. And I'm like, there comes to a certain spot in fitness also that you're just doing it for dudes. Like, you think that girls are all looking at, but it's like just dudes are admiring you at some point.
Right.
So it was one of those things that I like pushed all the time, but it was because I was not fulfilling so much other in life. And once I found like success in business,
Would you call it balance?
I would say that balance is hard in life. And I think it's one of those things that you always have to be at the drawing board, seeing where you're at business-wise, where you're at personally, where you're at relationship-wise with your significant other, whoever that person is, where you're at family-wise. There's so much to say balance that it's always, I feel like it's a pouring game of glasses, and you're always trying to make sure that they're even. And it's really easy to pour all of it into one pretty fast and not even realize that you do it. So I focus on that a lot, because I did that with the car space.
Yeah.
And I dove full speed into it, and I jeopardized everything else in my life. I didn't work out at all. I was awful. I was not fair to Madison. I was not fair to my family. I was not fair to anyone around me. And I finally realized that, and I was like, I either have to change something, or all I'm going to end up with life is this one job.
Yeah. You'll have a lot of money.
that it was like
Exactly.
it was that thing from everyone looking in. They thought I had the perfect life, and I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. This isn't what my life is supposed to look like.
100%.
And I think that's probably a lot with the athletes you talk to, that everything has lived in football or basketball or whatever they play, and that's 99% of their life. And then there's all these other things that they're going to find happiness and progression in business.
They're so good at it too. Naturally, when you meet them, they'll just do something in front of you. We'll be out at dinner, right?
Yeah.
And they'll just do something. They'll say something, and you'll be like, "Hold on, say that again."
Yeah.
And they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "Man, I'm not even." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's crazy, just what they have to offer, right?
Yeah.
It's how much balance they have that's not balanced.
Yeah.
Right. And because you can't get to that level without having a lot of different skills that people don't see.
And I think there's just so much that goes into that, and there's so many skills that people have that they don't realize that they have. And a lot of people are a lot better at a lot of things, and that they don't realize that. I didn't fully understand my skill set till just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I run into, they're like, you have this like ability that people follow you, like that. I don't know what it is, but I think it's attitude. And like, I think attitude creates atmosphere, and you create the atmosphere around you with the correct people. And I actually had one of the guys in my coaching group bring that up. And he's like, I live by attitude as atmosphere.
Yeah.
On our call this week. And I was like, dude, that's so cool. I was like, realistically, when I think about that, it's a lot of friends and things like that. They're like, your attitude's just always like, you're not in a bad mood. And I'm like, life's too short. Like, I died in a car wreck on the way home.
Yeah.
Guess what? I had a great Friday though.
Yeah.
Day's great. Like, it is what it is. Like that, if that's the ticket, that's the ticket. Like, but too many people make problems of things that shouldn't be issues. I don't feel, because most times it's money correlated.
Yeah. And then they'll find that once they just start having a better attitude, that everything will just slowly fall into place. It just,
World happens the way it's supposed to.
Right? Yeah. The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in luck. I believe in, once again, everything's put right where it's supposed to be at the exact time.
100%.
And I was supposed to sit here at this table this day, and this was supposed to happen this way. And but I keep my eyes very open to all of it. Like, and I feel like if more people did that, I feel like more people would be happy and enjoy life.
Yes. And I think that's our goal. I think that's our goal overall, is to bring happiness. Like, that's really like, it's not something I say. I'm a life coach, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I used to actually talk shit on life coaches. I used to be like, who fuck needs a life coach?
Yeah.
Right? And I don't need a life coach, even though at the time I did. The time I said that, I did. But I'm just like, that's just like a fake therapist, right? And so, but in return, actually becoming somebody that was giving out free advice for the longest time. And it came down to a point where somebody's like, hey, what you're saying to me is actually helping me.
Yeah. And it was crazy because I've had a coach that was actually paid for me through the dealership when I was there.
Okay.
It was like a life coach. And at the time, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
I was like, why is this guy getting on a call each week telling me what to do? Guys, like, because at that point, I thought I was just drowning. I thought my whole life, I got so much work. I have so much on my plate. And the first thing the guy for like 3 weeks kept telling me about time blocking. I was like, bro, you give me a fucking piece of paper, tell me, write down what I do every minute of the day. It's not going to help me at all.
Yeah.
He's like, just do it. And finally, like, the first week I did, I was like, holy shit, I got a lot of extra time.
Yeah.
I said, like,
it's crazy.
It was like nuts that I wasn't open enough.
Right.
And at that time in my life,
at that point, you were very high operating. Like,
I was. And I thought that, like,
money, you were making good money. You were making big decisions.
Yeah. And I just thought someone couldn't tell me what to do. And it was like,
that's the biggest. Sometimes I get into situations where I'm referred to people.
Yeah.
And the person that I'm referred to is so again, like, they look at me like they're just rolling their eyes from the moment I walk in.
Yep.
And we sit down and we start having an open conversation. And it's crazy what being focused on one thing can really just block you from so many different things. Mm-hmm. And someone could just come in and just say, bam, bam, bam. And it's just life-changing. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how you said, there's so much more time in a day.
Yeah.
Because us as people, we fall into routine.
100%.
Unless we have intent on focusing on things, we are falling into routine, right? Even if we grow, that growth will just become routine. All growth becomes routine. And we have to be on top of ourselves. We have to have people. We have to surround ourselves around people that make us accountable and to keep us accountable on all those things.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy how the world works with that.
I know.
It's all high functioning, like very successful people that just could use a little bit of help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's just life in general. There's progression is key.
Yeah.
And no matter what level you're at, there's more progression to be had. And if that's on every forefront, from if you're playing sports, you can be better. If personally, you can be better.
Yep.
Mindset, it can be better. Business, it can be better. Like any of those things. And I think when you become open-minded to always increasing all of it, because a lot of times people will be focused on increasing business or increasing their skill level playing football,
Or
or
they choose what's easy.
they choose something
choose
that
what they're really good at, and that's what you know what I mean. So
they choose the road that they know.
Exactly.
They know the roadmap to becoming better. I'm going to train more in the morning. I know how to train. I've done this my whole life.
Yeah.
You know what? The roadmap over here, I don't know this road. I'm not going to go drive on this road because I don't know it.
Right.
So it's a lot scarier for people going on
As much as people say that they don't like, oh, I don't need anybody to look up to. It's so much easier when someone else has done the road, though. And you're like, oh, someone that trains hard to get playing time.
Yep.
Right? It's hard to say, well, I don't see anybody filming themselves on their phone when they go to work.
Yeah.
I don't see that, and I don't see the benefit in that, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
100%. It's what we have in our life.
I know. I think we're gonna have a lot out of this. I feel like we could sit here and talk for hours.
No, we could, but yeah.
So
overall,
I think kind of sum it up.
Yeah. To sum it up, we are working together. We've joined forces with your marketing side of people building their personal brand, and then my coaching side of getting people to open up to the opportunities that are at their hand, at the tip of their fingers. Right. Those are what we're doing together, and now we're actually combining them, and we're actually working together and putting people in the right position to just be happy.
Yeah.
Just be happy, be successful, bring in some money at the same time, but overall just change their whole outlook in their life.
I love it.
So
we're going to make it work.
Cool.
Thanks for being let me be part of it.
Yes, appreciate it.
This has been the Perspective Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on social so you never miss an episode.